Yes, sir.
I'd like to call the Planning Commission of Monday, March 23rd, 2026 to order. We can have roll call, please.
Okay. Commissioner Barnes,
Here.
Commissioner Urbani,
Here.
Commissioner Chorin,
Here.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Here.
Commissioner Ellsworth,
Here.
Alderman Parrish, Alderman Strelchak, acting chair.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from February 23rd, 2026.
I would move approval of the minutes as written.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from February 23rd, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a consent agenda. We have Fox Nest LLC. The applicant is seeking certified survey map approval for the properties located at 13376 and 13400 North Silver Fox Drive. Second item is Granville Ridge LLC. The applicant is seeking minor request approval for allowance of 15,000 cubic yards of fill for a 13-lot conservation subdivision on 60 acres for the properties located at the northwest corner of Granville and Mequon Roads and the west portion of 11449 North Farmdale Road. Third item is Growth Design Group for Concordia University School of Nursing. The applicant is seeking building and site plan amendment to allow for building addition to the existing School of Nursing property located at 12800 North Lakeshore Drive. I'm looking for either a motion or if you'd like to remove any items from the consent agenda, take them up individually.
Motion for approval. Second.
Got a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next item is a public hearing. First item is Almo Corporation LP. The applicant is seeking conditional use grant, building and site plan amendment, and master sign plan approval to allow for a warehousing for the property located at 5201 and 5401 West Donges Bay Road. I am looking for a motion to go into public hearing on this.
So moved.
Do we remove from the table before going into public hearing?
No, we'll do that after.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So I got a motion and a
Second.
second to go into public hearing. All in favor of going into public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're now in public hearing. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this item? Robin, I didn't see any slips come forward for any of the public hearing items, so just watch for the audience, correct? Okay, great. Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Got a motion and a second to close public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so first item of order is to remove this from the table for discussion.
We need to remove the site plan amendment and the master sign plan amendment only, just for clarification.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
so moved and seconded, as Jack just said. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, they are removed from the table. Jack, we'll go into.
Did you want to bring up the applicant as well? Have set up, I think they have a group.
Applicant, if you'd like to come up to the table and have discussion.
So as many of you may recall, at our last meeting, we had a lengthy discussion on the use of the site, and it was the Planning Commission made a determination that it was a conditional use. So we received some information from the applicant, some as late as today, that is somewhat conflicting with one another. I have the original proposal up on the screen for you. The original request was to install a gate along Donges Bay Road and then have put potential barriers up in this location to prevent the trucks from idling. And then there's an existing gate in this location over here. We received a new plan. This came in actually today, which shows the, and they actually installed some of this already. It shows the use of the existing gate with concrete barriers kind of in the orange location here that would prevent idling from occurring in this area behind here. Now, this, for in staff's opinion, this basically just moves the problem a little bit to the north because the gate would still be in this location here, but trucks would still be allowed to come through this area and circle out or idle in this area, which is close to our recently approved Donges Cove development. So we're concerned about that. So based on this, I had a meeting with the applicant, and we had I prepared my own version of a site plan, which I don't believe they're supportive of, but I think this would solve the issue for us. Let me just zoom out a little bit for you. So our version would be to have a gate installed basically right at this location here, about 100 feet in from the development. And that would be so that there wouldn't be any blockage of Donges Bay Road with trucks that are trying to enter the gate. And then at that point, they would have to be either manned or remotely manned from a site inside the building that would let them in. Once they come in, they would have to come down this stretch here and then circle back around and through here. They could not go anywhere in this parking area here because they would require landscape islands to be installed in this location here. And then we also wanted to get some site deficiencies cleaned up here. This area here has a lot of rollover from the semi-trailers, so we want that cleaned up. We actually have some missing street trees along this stretch here, and we're looking for a formal landscape plan in this area. There's a lot of scrub growth that's occurred over the years. I think the biggest objection to this plan for them, and I think what actually helps our cause, is that if somebody does come to the gate and they're at the wrong time or they can't get in, they would have to come in and then go all the way down here to turn back around and get back out, which is fine because that would, if it's such a hassle to do that, we'd figure in the future they would no longer come early. So this is our plan. This is what we suggest, and this is what we based our report on with regard to the other conditions in the report, which I'll go through in a second. So I think they'll have some concerns with this plan, but I think this would help us alleviate the problem of the trucks idling in all the locations within the site itself. In terms of the master sign plan, they showed 24 signs. Many of those are regulatory signs, which aren't really included in a master sign plan, but depending on what the council or the commission's action is tonight, I think we would make a recommendation on a sign plan based on that. So I think we're recommending tabling that portion of the application again until we can figure out what we're going to do with the sign plan or the master sign or the site plan approval. We also added a number of conditions, regardless of what direction the commission goes with regard to the site plan, that there be no trucks idling during loading and unloading, no trucks shall remain on the premises after unloading and unloading, and there be no truck traffic to and from the site other than the listed hours of approval. The applicant also states that they are open on Saturdays, no more than 10 occurrences per year. We'd also like to see a list of those dates ahead of time to know when they are actually open in case we do get complaints from times that they're not supposed to be open. We're asking that our site plan be implemented by June 30th, 2026 for this first phase. And then we'd have to wait until the second phase of this would include the wetland delineation issue. That won't be addressed until the growing season begins, so that will take probably at least a few months. So we put a condition here, number 9, return to commission once that's addressed by the DNR. So with that, staff is supportive of our plan with regard to the conditional use grant. Now, if the commission is not supportive of this plan, then we may have to add some other conditions, but we're looking to see your feedback based on the applicant's proposal with regard to their plan. So at this point, we'll recommend approval according to ours, and we'll wait and hear what they have to say.
Okay. Applicant? Go to discussion on our end.
Good evening. I'm attorney Brian Randall with the Amundsen Davis Law Firm, representing Elmo as the conditional use grant applicant. I'd like everyone at the table to introduce themselves because we do have to tag team our presentation because some of the issues like what Jack's presented on site plan really involve our landlord as well. So if we can all do our quick appearances, please.
Mike Shive, Vice President of Operations.
Robert Zayats, Distribution Center Manager.
Ellen Anderson, counsel for Westmount, the landlord.
Hi, and I'm John Humphrey. We met last month at the meeting. I do represent the owner of the property. I'm the regional manager for Westmount.
Great. Nice meeting you all. Thank you. And then did you have any comments on staff's things? Sounded like you had a bit of a presentation you wanted to go through.
Yes, I thought John was actually literally going to keep the microphone, but Robin's telling him there's another one, so we don't have to share.
There you go.
We would like to, and maybe since the site plan is on the screen and the discussion has been about gates and routes through the parking lot, that probably makes the most sense to start there. And Jack is right, as he wrote in the staff report and presented to you, there were conflicting presentations or applications that were filed. But as the Plan Commission knows, almost all of you were here. I think Commissioner Parrish, you had the night off last February. But we were ruled to be and interpreted to be a warehouse use, Alamo that is, as our operations are. And to make this Plan Commission hearing date, staff graciously gave us a few extra days, but it was less than a week's turnaround time to submit. And so while we and our landlord were talking a lot about the site plan, there's another tenant coming in that's on the agenda right after us that I think is strongly supported by the city. We were all trying to submit what would make the most sense and work operationally. We proposed a gate out at the Donges Bay Road frontage, and we still think that's a good idea. And Mike called it a triangle gate, but just something that can be closed off when the site is not operational, which is what we believe is the main problem. And frankly, it's supported by the police call log that's in your packet, page 110 to 100 to 101. It shows that of all the idling concerns and unattended or overnight parking, it's during that second shift. The vast majority are during the second shift when we, Alamo, are not open. So to not even allow any truck access to the site made the most sense to us. It's what we presented. Staff has been talking about a more interior gate with more enhanced capabilities, having either a person there or video capability. The landlord has already, I think, reactivated the midpoint gate, and that is something that I think is at least a second level that makes a lot of sense. But our concern is that any options that have routes that have an escape route through the north parking lot, there may be impacts to future neighbors. There may be truck headlights that will still come through. And so the reality of blocking access to the site altogether at Donges Bay seems to make the most sense. But it's not just our decision, and so I do want to defer to John a little bit on the deep dive the landlord has taken, how various access options affect tenants that they have, and why we think the approach that we're presenting together is the best way. So John, is that enough of an intro for you to go through your handout?
Yeah, sure.
Thank
Thanks. Thanks, Brian.
You'll need to move the mic a little closer to you.
Thank you.
You got your own. Just
Okay.
take advantage of it.
Yeah, we're open to changes and coordination with the city and Elmo on how the gate is activated and where it's activated. I mean, first, as an owner, certainly we share the community's concern. We want to be a good neighbor, and we want to ultimately stop the truck idling and truck parking, overnight parking on the site. So I don't know, Jack, if you could bring up my slides again. So this was my idea. The phase one is the lower section. That's the southeast corner of the property. We've actually gone ahead and put where the orange dashes are, those are concrete truck barriers. On the second page, we'll show a picture of how we've eliminated trucks being able to enter that southeast corner of the property. So that was phase one. We just did that last week. And then I would say phase two, back on the first slide, if you could, that's the northeast corner. And this was my idea, activate the existing gate. We'd actually replace the current sliding gate, which is in disrepair, but there is power there. And there were formerly gate controls or access control there at the blue line. So the thought is there's power there, activate the gate, put access control there, and then guide the trucks off the property through another series of concrete barriers. That would eliminate the need for a 24-hour guard, which I think Jack and staff are proposing. We don't feel like that's necessary for this property, and we'd like to come up with a solution that does avoid a 24-hour patrol, which if the gate is put on the access drive where staff is proposing, we'd have to open the gate and then guide trucks, almost escort them all the way into the back of the building, turn around, and then guide them back out to Donges Bay. So we think that's problematic as well. And I'm actually maybe coming off of this plan and thinking maybe a gate at Donges Bay is the right solution. I think there's drawbacks to that as well. Trucks lining up on Donges Bay perhaps, but if it is after hours, if it's 6 o'clock and the gate's closed, maybe trucks do just continue on and leave the area until their designated operating time. So we're open to a unified solution, but we are concerned for the community. I've reached out to Patty Bosch, actually myself, and Mr. Hansher gave them my information. I'd actually like any future complaints to be directed to me, and then I can work with Elmo or my local property manager to make sure trucks are not idling and parking overnight, right, regardless of the solution.
So I guess, real
yeah.
quick question.
Sure.
You expressed the concern about a 24-hour, somebody that you needed to man the gate. The issue is with idling trucks, so with the gate further in and nobody's manning that 24 hours, you've just identified where that problem sounds like it's going to land. How would you offset that with your concept of, kind of a mid-property gate versus a near-the-road gate?
I was thinking initially actually to hire a patrol service. We've looked into and talked with Titan Security. Maybe initially we do have them hired for an overnight patrol, maybe visiting the site 3, 4, 5 times a night to see if there are trucks staying in that exit strategy plan, and just kind of see over the next 30 days how this plan actually works.
Yeah. And thank you again very much for your time. I'm Ellen Anderson. I'm counsel for Westmount. I'm from Eric Van Scandal's office. You might have seen some correspondence from Eric. And I just wanted to echo that final point that John made. It's not that, absolute cold opposition to someone being on site. That's not it. It's truly, when you say we share the concern, complaints aren't good for the community or business. We definitely want to work together to resolve this. So I think the ask right now would be to come up with a solution together to ameliorate this issue that we share. So our proposal is phase 1 has already been put in place. I understand that the northeast corner of the parking lot is what will cause some concern now. However, this is a work in progress of finding a solution that works together. I think you can see from some of the Google reviews that there have already been changes about no overnight parking is allowed. That message is being communicated more clearly. We hope that the changes that were implemented as recently as last week will also help mitigate these concerns and start moving the problem to diminishing until it no longer exists altogether. So we're not taking any extreme positions. We just would ask for potentially some more time to see if the phase 1 that we've already implemented and potentially even hiring remote security over the course of the next 30 days or so would impact the problem positively.
Great. Anything additional you're going to add?
I think just to maybe recap and almost restart. So what we're not operating is a truck terminal. We're not a freight yard. We're not constant trucks every day. We have 16 to 24 each shift. And this has been an industrial building for decades, and Almo has been tenants since 2012 with the same business model and the same business activities. We recognize that there has been overnight parking and truck idling over the last several years. Let's just generally say the several years. And in fact, if you look at the police activity log, which documented June through July of 2025, there were 4 instances of idling observed by the police officer during Elmo's business operations. And Robert explained last time that there could be legitimate reasons for that. Trucks do have to start up and they have to have their air brakes fully charged and they may be doing a safety check and that could be perceived and looked at as idling. So we're not going to argue that those were wrong, but there were 4 instances during our operating hours that there was idling observed by Mequon police. But there were also 9 instances when idling was observed during this second shift period, when we're not operating and we don't have people on any part of the site. And frankly, I think Ms. Bosch, the emails that are in the packet from March 5th and March 10th, earlier than 8 p.m. and before 9 p.m., those are critical time periods in our estimation. It's when we're not operating and trucks are on the site. The key being a gate out on Donjas Bay, so trucks aren't on this site. It's worth noting 30 of the police report observations, actually 31, found no trucks parked or no trucks idling, whether during our operating hours or not. So it was a problem, and we believe the problem is caused primarily by when no one is operating at the site and the site is not blocked off. So with the landlord in uniting of what we're trying to wrestle with is the issue and what's a reasonable solution, recognizing we're here on a conditional use and reasonableness is that legal standard, to have a 24-hour guard, have all sorts of different barriers doesn't seem like it's going to be necessary, as Ellen said, and even John. We'd like to continue to implement our mitigation measures, prevent access, also with the new tenant coming in, have more activity on the site, and that will allow a better overall operation of the site and something that Elmo's been doing for many years. The drivers are not always the same, so people getting the message by just experiencing the new guard or the new you can't come here and move on, that's probably not going to be very effective. Signage will be effective, whether the driver is there the first time or the 10th time. I don't know why if they couldn't read the sign the first time, they're back on 10 times. But Donjas Bay, they just have to continue to drive by if the gates are closed and the site is not open. If we're open, and again, we explained this last time, but to the extent this is a new hearing, the drivers come by appointment and are scheduled to be there. The reason why we've had this problem in the past is if they're early and we're not operating, they just parked there and they lingered. But they will continue to have scheduled appointments. Robert explained how in their check-in procedure at Elmo, they're told they have to leave the site right after their loads are put in. They cannot idle the engines. We've self-policed that to the extent we can on the Elmo portion of the premises. And so all of that will continue, and we did include that in our submittal as far as the scheduled drivers, informing the drivers, surveying the property to make sure there aren't drivers lingering, and notifying the police, and more importantly, perhaps, the customers or the trucking companies if we're finding repeat violators. Those are all things that Robert has done, and he told you about that last time. So that's our approach. We believe the problem is that second shift, and the fact is that it won't go away just because we have an interior gate. I think trucks may still find their way to the site, and that's why we'd like to have that gate on the exterior. Anything else, Mike or Robert?
No, I think the exterior gate will also benefit the future development that's going to be developed along across from the Quick Trip. I think 10 or 15 condos there, and I'm sure they don't want trucks pulling in off hours at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. to turn around and pull back out with their lights shining into their development. So the gate at the far end, the northern part of the property, would alleviate all that as well.
And finally, I'll just say I'm glad that John reached out to the neighbor. Usually as a lawyer, they don't like the lawyers reaching out, things like that, but staff also gave us the latest memo from Ms. Bosch. And frankly, we agree with her second paragraph. Put a gate at the entrance. That's what she's even suggesting. We think that is a solution that will address the problem and be a very reasonable solution that we can all get behind. We have other comments on hours and landscaping, but for now, I think that's the gate.
Okay, great. I'll turn it over to commissioners. Alderman Parrish had a question for staff.
Yep,
and then
just
I
a
see other
question,
hands, so-
just a question for staff, and then I'll listen for a while. But can you just zoom out a little bit and show where the 100-plus complaints have been coming from? Is it to the south, or is it from?
The complaints are coming from mostly the properties down here, located along the south end.
Okay, is there a berm along the back of the property?
No, those are all trees. A lot of dead ash trees are in that area. It's a wetland area.
Okay, and what's wrong with just putting a gate at the road? And
Well, again, if it's
they're saying sounds reasonable, so what's wrong with what they're
just a
recommending?
gate at the road, well, again, is it going to be 24 hours at gate operational, or is it going to be just, if the gate is open third shift, then people that still could come in there and they still could pull in and idle down in this area down here. So I don't know what that changes anything.
There'd be people on site, I think, right? I mean, Elmo would be present at the site.
Well, they're present on site now, and we're still getting complaints. We had 2 complaints since our last meeting, in fact,
Not in the
regarding.
third
Okay, so that's just my question. So who's complaining? Is it the people?
It's the
right
residents that live along this stretch right here.
behind all of them, or is it 1 or 2 people?
It's 1 or 2, but I guess shouldn't matter too much, but I think it's 1 or 2 that are primarily complaining about it.
Okay, I'll just listen for a while, but that was my immediate reaction is this is a huge industrial building surrounded by an industrial park, and I would have thought it would have been, I guess, closer complaints. So I'm just a little surprised this is escalated to this issue. Staff does have a duty to respond, so they've been in a difficult situation too. But I think the commission has to weigh, a couple of neighbors versus a huge property here.
And I would say it probably wouldn't have escalated to this issue, but it's been going on for several years, and that's why it escalated to this issue, so.
So the last 2 complaints were when we were not on the property, the 5th and the 10th, between 8 and 9 o'clock. So if we had a gate at Donges Bay, they wouldn't have got onto the property to idle. And then once we are open, we monitor that. We also have put steel, cement beams that along where no one can park. So
That's
the
what most
trucks physically can't
that's what
even
most
park there.
businesses do, so I'm just
Yeah,
trying
that
to
was just
catch
a-
up here and understand staff's position.
Commissioner Chorin. Go down the line, then I'll come over here with you guys, if that's okay. Go either or.
A question for the applicant. I mean, are these trucks, are there multiple trucks coming at the same time? I mean, how frequently are they stacked up?
So during the normal business hours, let's say during the day, yes, trucks come and go. We get sometimes 2 or 3 trucks at a time. Almost all of them are local trucks, UPS, FedEx, Saya, SEVA. You've seen all the trucks. They're just local LTL carriers that pick up and deliver
So
all through the day.
is there any merit to the staff's comment of, putting a gate at Donges? You'll have all these vehicles stacked up along Donges Bay?
Well, that would be true. So currently right now, if the gate's open during business hours, they come to the back of the property, they check in, they back into one of our docks, receiving doors, they turn off their machine, they either get unloaded or loaded, and then they turn their machine back on and off they go, and they go on to the next customer. Most of the carriers during the day are picking up all along Donges Bay Road, Rockwell, Hayes Braking. They're all customers of the same carriers.
So there's a potential that if the gate was along Donges Bay, there might be trucks stacked up there, but in my concern with the staff's suggestion that the gate be put, 100 feet in, what if a truck pulls in and it's not allowed to come in, isn't supposed to be there at that time? How can they even back out?
Well, they wouldn't have to back out. It would be manned, the gate would be manned, and at that point, they would let them in to turn around and go out. They would be able to monitor that.
Okay. Can we go back to the applicant's plan?
It,
This,
So what they're suggesting here is that the gate that controls it is at mid-site. And that,
Well, it sounds like they're suggesting two gates, from what I'm getting at. One gate at Donges Bay and one gate in this location here,
Okay.
unless I'm wrong.
but the trucks that are shown, I believe I understand that the red dashed lines are the concrete barriers?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay, so, where you've got shown the trucks maneuvering around, are those vehicles that have arrived too early, or?
In the northeast corner, the idea would be those are trucks arriving after Elmo's business hours. So perhaps between 5 and 11 p.m., we'd want them to exit the property. Or then, I mean, really, that's the only time Elmo's not there. They operate from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. They would have people on site. I believe if we had a gate on Donges Bay, that gate would be open during Elmo's business hours. So trucks wouldn't line up on Donges Bay. They'd come onto the property and they'd be handled by
So that
Elmo's.
becomes the staging area, basically, for the trucks to then get access to the south part of the.
That would be on the property,
Okay.
if it's during regular business hours.
So would they be sitting there with the potential of idling?
They would not be allowed to idle, no.
Okay.
But who's enforcing that?
Well, and I think for when business hours are open, no trucks need to idle. They go, they make their shipment, they unload, and then they depart. And perhaps Elmo can speak better to this, but it sounds like you don't have more than 2 or 3 trucks at a time.
That's correct.
Correct.
We have 2 or 3 trucks, and those are LTL carriers that come and pick up. They're there for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. They either get offloaded or loaded, and then they're on to the next customer most of them are in Mequon / Menominee Falls and Germantown, because they're all picking up within that industrial park complex. As far as idling on Donges Bay Road, I can't see that happening. If there's a gate at the very, 15 feet from the Donges Bay Road, they're not going to sit on Donges Bay Road and idle.
Jack, do you mind going to that page 1, our original graphic? We recognize it's confusing, and we recognize that we submitted different plans dated March 2nd and even tonight. And if you can blow that up at all, but what our concept is, as we originally presented, and let's just go north to south, proposed gate at Donges Bay is what I held up, triangle gates. Robert, when he's done and they're done with the first shift, he walks out. The last thing he does when he drives off the site is secures those gates, and vehicles, no one can come on. Of course, the fire department can break right through it, or they have a Knox box to get through. But that was our proposed gate to prevent unauthorized trucks or anyone being on the site when Almo's not there. And so that's scenario number 1 of how to operate the site when we are not operating ourselves. And that would therefore prevent trucks from idling in the northeast parking lot, the southeast parking lot, in front of our gate. Can you scroll down just a little bit more, Jack, please? Right underneath the red line is where, in orange dots, that gate exists. I saw Robert secure that today when we met on site. So the last thing he did today was secure that Elmo gate. All that there are some trailers that are empty at the loading docks, no trucks, no employee vehicles, no nothing on the site, because we're in second shift at 6:33 p.m. That same concept is what Robert would do with the Donges Bay Road gate during Elmo not being operational. During third shift and first shift, when we're operating, Donges Bay Road gate would be open, but we have employees on site. They're scheduled for deliveries, and if we see a truck idling or parking in the northeast or southeast parking lot, we're obligated to police it. That's what our plan of operations says we will do. If we will definitely see them if they're in front of our gate, because our gate's open and they're supposed to be there at those times, they park and they do their loading. The other thing we put on this plan, though, this is where they kind of merge together, is potential barriers for those northeast and southeast parking lots. That's what John's plan shows they've already started to do. Now, the north one, he has this route, like an escape route for a truck, but the key to us is to make those areas not available for a truck that may be on site during a time that we are operating, that we haven't caught them to shoo them away, to not really get over there. And so that's already in place. There are ways it can be done that we think would be effective and to really address the problem. And finally, I think Robert just clarified on Donges Bay, if those gates are closed when we're not there, we're not going to have a queuing of trucks on Donges Bay. They're going to keep moving along. They'll slow down to 10 miles an hour, realize they can't get on site, and they have to keep going. So those are all the scenarios that we envision, both the scenario of when we're not operating and not on site and getting rid of this attractive place where trucks have been coming to park and idle. And then when we are operating, how we can allow them on site and do the site surveying and policing that we have been committed to doing recently, we should have been doing over the years, but now that we have this conditional use grant, it'll be part of our plan of operation and the city can make sure that we're following through. Does that kind of recap, guys? I mean, we were talking over here just to make sure our operations were fairly understood because we don't think there's going to be a traffic jam on Donges Bay, and we do believe the problem is when trucks migrate on site and we're not there. And that Robert and his team would be able to control those gates just like they're doing now.
So if there was a gate on Donges Bay that was closed during non-office hours, then what would the point of this gate be then? And what would be the purpose of it? Because you wouldn't be able to get in during non-office hours.
I don't think there would be a need for that gate, Jack, that it would just remain opened as it is now. So there is a second gate, of course, but that's into Elmo's truck court.
You had the floor last, so I'll let you finish your.
And can you go back to their proposed plan?
The other one?
Yeah, the other one. So if the gate's at Donges Bay and a truck approaching sees the gate closed, will proceed on to somewhere else. There won't be any queuing on the road. And the only time it's open would be then the hours that you operate. The truck comes in, you have the barriers that prevent somebody from parking in that area. You don't need to turn around anymore because they're there for the sole reason of coming to the back of the building. I think there's some merit to what they've proposed here.
Again, this is the first time I'm hearing that specific request. I guess I would have an issue with the gate at Donges Bay as long as it was electronically managed instead of manually managed, because it just relies on human intervention to shut it. And so if the guy is coming in late or he gets out there late and it's 6 o'clock and he shuts it, then somebody gets in there and then it sits in there, it still could be an issue. So I guess that would be an issue. And the other issue with the Donges Bay gate, it can't be right on the road. It's going to have to be off their property, so it's going to have to be back a little bit. So it can't be in our right of way, so it's going to have to be set back a little bit. But I guess if that gate was a electronic gate that was shut during times when they're not open, I guess that's a possibility.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Jack, because there's going to have to be access for people. Southland might have someone want to come into the office after hours, so there has to be some kind of access control for the other two tenants at the property. But I think that could be coordinated with Elmo.
Commissioner Barnes.
I too, I'm seeing some merit in a gate, as you proposed, call it just off the right of way into your property. Obviously positioned such that a truck isn't parked partway on the driveway, et cetera, and then it's controlled from there. That does make sense to me. Point of curiosity, I was coming through the site here an hour before our meeting that we're all at, and what I happened to observe was it was at least 2 vehicles that were parked on the driveway, blocking any vehicles coming into it. They were positioned, call it about where just above the yellow line, right about in there somewhere. It seemed odd to me, and I was just wondering if that was some complication that we would be facing later for some reason.
Yeah, yes, sir. Mike Shive. Apologize for not being here at the last meeting. I got stuck in Philly in an ice storm, so apologize. That was Robert and I talking over the plan that we had just seen from Westmount, and also discussing what we wanted to discuss tonight about the gate and how close can we get to Dundas Bay Road that would be reasonable, et cetera, and just taking a look at. So that was Robert and I. He had the little Mini Cooper, and I'm in it.
You had the silver Toyota with the white Toyota?
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
We were chatting about it.
I was, yeah,
Yeah,
I was there too
And then
with
John
Brian.
came soon
and
after, so it might have been.
And then I was there at
a lot of
5:30.
activity there.
And they came.
I was doing my job, you were doing yours. But I guess my point is simply that, was there some procedure here that was of representing routine? And that was, you've answered that. No, it's not.
All right, good deal.
Thank you. One last thing. I don't think trucks are going to park on Dundas Bay for a variety of reasons. I think the only awareness that we might hold is if they did pull over for the 10 minutes before the gate opens, those types of things, then we're going to be facing trucks on the road and policing of that, no parking signs, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not suggesting that, but it is something to be aware of. I think it's a low possibility.
I just think it's important to note that last month, we did approve a new development for residential in that northeast corner. So just keeping aware of the future.
Good call. That was called out in the packet too, so. Some brand new homes are going in right at that space, so trucks idling on the north side of that parking lot would be very detrimental to that development.
And I guess my other
The
question
problem
would be,
contained on the public right of way.
my other question would be is if the gate would be functional, then what would be the point of all these barriers out there? That they wouldn't need to be there anymore because there would be no potential people idling out there. So I guess I'm not sure why these were installed and the purpose of them at this point or even going forward.
So the question that I've got for you just on that in specific is, sounds like they wanted to leave the gates open during their hours of operations, fully open, and not man them, is that correct?
Correct.
So,
Yes.
and then your recommendation is that the gate would be manned electronically from the inside, and they would have to at least buzz in to say that they're there for delivery.
But I'm saying, my question is, if the gate is closed from 5:01 to 11 p.m. every day, which is when they're not in operation, if so, and the rest of the time they're there, and so nobody can get in there to idle, so what would be the point of these? They wouldn't have any purpose at that point. Because if
Gotten in
people,
there to idle before.
if they get there between like 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., they're going to be able to go and do their deliveries and unload and load. If they're there after 11 o'clock, they're going to be able to do the same thing. So I'm not really sure what the point of having all these barriers are out there.
Well, I would say that any open space for truck drivers these days that they have access to, they will take. So some of these drivers may not have even been our drivers coming to make a delivery. I say our drivers, they're not our drivers, but making a delivery. So prior to unloading or after being unloaded, those barriers then prevent any trucks from parking in those areas and help us actually monitor and manage that space out there.
And I would just echo, it's a belt and suspenders approach because we do take this quite seriously. So although the Dundas Bay Gate might render those barriers a little bit extra, we've already put them in because we want to be sure that this doesn't continue to.
So if people were going to do that, they would leave, and then they couldn't get through here, so they would come up here and they could sit up in this area basically and wait until they decided to leave. And now it's going to be near where the new development would be going, basically.
None of the barriers
Well,
are there.
no.
The purple dots on the other picture. So I think this plan's now, I think this is defunct, right? We shouldn't even be looking at this anymore.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah, and back to Elmo's plan.
Dots, which was the original packet. That guy. Neither of those parking lots are accessible, and I think, I mean, it's not aesthetic, but it also is not really visible. Those are the areas, I believe, so yes, Elmo's responsible for their drivers and also being in this location and trying to manage your operations and also trying to police people who might go sneak and park up in that upper northeast corner. That doesn't seem, yes, they're responsible, and also that feels a little bit above and beyond. So the barriers would prevent that.
Yeah, and I'm envisioning now maybe just a few barriers. There'd be a way to prevent trucks from accessing that northeast parking lot, but still allow us as the owner to have car parking there.
I think what our solution with regard to, and this is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing as well, is to have landscaped islands basically with openings that are wide enough to allow cars to go through
Yeah.
there. That would be the ultimate solution. And we would not allow these barriers on any other development in the city that I'm aware of. So I'm a little concerned about the aesthetic of the barriers.
Go ahead.
I didn't raise my hand before, I just blurted, sorry.
It was your turn anyway,
my
so go
MO.
ahead.
I was going to say the same thing. I think I came in concerned more about the gate on Donjas Bay, and I think I have come around to that. I'm also, it's not a blighted site, but it's not there are improvements I think that could be made that are more visible from Donjas Bay. So kind of what staff said, like the street trees, the removing grass and boulders, and then kind of the yellow areas. I also don't want to be too onerous, right? So yes, I don't know if that would be allowed anywhere else. It also is not visible. The blue, green, and yellow are going to be most visible from the road and from the new development. Where the landscape islands are, I would think is probably less so for traffic coming by as well as for Donjas Cove folks. Maybe I'm not orienting myself properly to where that would be, but I'm trying to balance what we're asking them to do, right? Some improvements with also, I think the concrete barriers are probably a more cost-conscious solution for those parking lots. So I would be willing to kind of give and take and have the concrete barriers be the literal hard and fast preventative measure for those parking lots, if perhaps there could be some improvements on what's more visible along the road and along the entry of the driveway.
We also have this area here that we referenced, that this is a parking lot that's,
Just a black, it's got just boulders that are blocking it.
they have like chains across. There used to be an office building up in this area. It was tore down a number of years ago, and they kept the parking lot, but it's in disrepair. It hasn't been used. They blocked it off, I think, prevent from people from Libby, Montana's parking there at one point. But it either needs to be repaired or removed as a parking lot.
Grass.
May I please respond briefly?
Go ahead.
I think this is an iterative process. So we agree that, the concrete barriers and the sign on Donjas Bay is a great start. And we would appreciate the opportunity to try that and see how it goes. The goal would be, our shared goal is to minimize complaints. If we're getting complaints about what it looks like from the road, or for example, that northwest corner, we know that there are other issues with this site that still need to be resolved. For example, the sign plan. We know that that needs more time as well. So we would appreciate the opportunity just to try the Donjas Bay road gate for now and the concrete barriers and see how it goes. And if there are continued concerns about landscaping or unsightliness, we'd be happy to listen to those perhaps 30 days from now.
So just talking about staff's objection that you're not identifying, you want to do it in a phased process, but tonight we're looking to possibly give you a decision on a path forward versus tabling it again. That's always an option, just so we know. Staff doesn't agree with the aesthetic of the concrete barriers, nor is that allowed with other industrial tenants within the city of Mequon. So you're on par with that. So if you're going to block off that parking, it would be islands and, landscaping in that space. They're asking that you replace the street trees that have died, along the road, and a couple other small things, in addition to what's being had. So the iterative process would probably need to be defined tonight, or we would need to consider a motion to table. I don't know that we have to do that or need to do that. If you want islands with trees and bushes so that, semis don't park and idle in that space during business hours as they have in the past, then, that's what we vote on tonight. So again, we can kind of move in that direction. Question, yes.
Is there a path tonight to approve the Southland CUG, right? That is very, very important to us as an owner, of course, right?
Yeah.
Southland wants to access the property very, very soon, right? The lease is signed, and they're prepared to occupy upon
Next
approval.
item on the agenda.
Right, exactly. But
Would they have access to the gate? How would the gate work for you on Donges Bay Road, I guess is my question. I'm going to tell you and be really honest, if you have trucks staging out there, which they're going to do it. You and I both know there's going to be one truck pulled in and another one right behind it waiting and blocking traffic, or they're going to wait there for 10 minutes. It's just 10 minutes. I know how some truckers work. I work in industrial manufacturing, and I've been at probably 100 plants nationwide, and I've seen how it works. Really what works best is if you let them in a portion of the site, so maybe a semi's distance into the site. It's a manned gate. They buzz in, and they talk to somebody, at the facility, and they say, hey, I'd like access to the facility. Yep, you come in, you share with them at that point that you need to back in, to your spot, turn the truck off. There's no idling per city policy and per our agreement. They come in, they do their thing, and then they leave. And if they don't gain access, they're told to pull in and turn around, and it's, they need to head back out. That requires 24-hour manning of the electronic gate, which, we've had ongoing complaints. I'll slightly disagree with you, and I know that you and I are usually on the same page, but this one we might be slightly off. I agree with allowing an industrial business to do industrial business things. Again, I'm in industrial manufacturing. That's what I do. But at a point where the problem's been brought up for multiple years, and then you're in front of Planning Commission because the problem hasn't been rectified, and there hasn't been, something that's been identified with your own due diligence, at that point you come forward to us, and now we're talking about, some other things that really kind of, help you mitigate that in an agreed on policy. One thing I do want to comment, you dropped the concrete barriers. Did you ask city staff if that was okay before you did that?
no, we didn't. We just were
Okay.
trying to be very proactive.
So a little pro coaching for you, okay? We love having you in the community, and we appreciate your business. If you want to do something, big to change the property, I appreciate you addressing it. Your first call's to Jack or his team to, hey, is this allowable? This is one of the solutions we came up with. That shows partnership, and last meeting, there were a couple things that you just kind of did on your own that weren't approved per the city, and I just want to get you in that muscle memory of working with city staff when you want to change site level things and traffic flows and things like that. I appreciate you trying to address the issue, but just a little coaching on that space that, that does go a long way if you work with the team here, so.
In fact, we did have a Zoom call about a week ago where we said we would not be supportive of those. So they were aware of our opinion on that, so.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've learned a little bit more. That's why I wanted to listen first. First of all, there's been a couple of comments about the new development that was approved adjacent to the site, as if we're concerned that this site is going to bother future residential, and that is exactly the reason that I was opposed to that new central residential development. So I just want to express my upfront support for the applicant that if there are those types of complaints, I think that developer should be warned that There's industrial here first. I think they've proposed a good solution. I actually agree with Alderman Strelchuk. Maybe the gate should be a little more set back from the road. I have heard what staff has said. I do think it's important to be consistent. So if you're saying that those concrete blocks are not consistent and that having those grassy islands are, let's do that for sure. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. I don't think of a circumstance where we would allow those islands. Now, maybe in the way back we could maybe look at it, but I think even this area here on the map, this actually is an island. It's a raised island. It's all concrete, but it's too wide here anyway, so it still needs to be modified. But
So, yeah, I'm in favor of a consistent approach. I realize that's an extra cost for you, but I do feel like this has been going on so many years. Let's get a permanent solution in place. Guess we'll get those concrete barriers out of there. I don't think those are necessary. We'll do the gate. I like Alderman Strelchuk's idea about want to make sure it's working as he described, so cars check in and out, or trucks. As far as, just want to make sure I get all my comments in. Yep, no, I think that would be it. So I personally don't see a reason not to table this. I think we should continue it. I just want to reiterate that staff was just doing their job this whole time. They get complaints from residents, from our paying taxpayers. You guys are our commercial taxpayers, and they can't just ignore these complaints. On the same hand, when it's one or two houses, that's I think there's a measure of reason, and I think your police report was great data, the log. It really showed that your processes and your systems are working. You're educating drivers. There's no other way to do this in the industry, and I think we need to be pro-business here and not get a reputation for, being difficult. So I'm all in favor of making this building habitable. I like the solutions that have been proposed, so I don't see the debate. I like that staff is saying let's be consistent with the islands. Do you need a separate site plan to come back at a future meeting?
well, we can handle part of that, but I guess go back to the gate on Dundas Bay. So there's been conflicting statements, I think. So one, if the gate would be required to be manned, I think it has to be far enough in to allow a semi in,
Oh, I don't think a man gate is
or some kind of control.
at the site is so it's just not an economical
But
model.
they're not saying that. They're saying they want a gate. They're just shut between 5 and 11 o'clock that no one has the ability to open. So if that's the case, then you almost have to put it right at the property line so that you wouldn't get semis coming and pulling into the site and waiting there. So I think we have to decide on that. It's one or two options. Either it has to be in far enough to allow a semi to queue while they talk to somebody, or it has to be kind of right at the property line so that they wouldn't have the ability to pull in.
Okay, I'm flexible. I guess I'd rather it be at the property line, but I'll listen. So.
It still has to have some sort of access, right, for the other tenants? Like, unmanned doesn't mean inaccessible, like a keypad or a code of some sort?
That's correct. I agree completely.
It's not just you lock it and then until you come back or someone else comes back, nobody can get in. So it's not a physical person there or even a video, but it is accessible.
I'm unaware of anywhere in the city where we have trucks on the street not entering a property.
Well, again, in theory, this would not be trucks. I guess is what they're trying to say is that if it was, let's say that we put the gate right at the property line, like this location right here. So if it was a car, they could probably pull in and then be out of traffic and be able to get in with a keypad or a remote or something like that. But if it was a truck, you would not be able to get in. You couldn't get in anyway. So I think the question is, the concern is still, and maybe it's not true or not, but it's hard to say, is if a truck is coming here at 10:50 and they know the gate's open at 11, are they going to sit there and wait 10 minutes or not? Or not? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if any of us do at this point. So that's the biggest concern is that are they going to sit on Dundas Bay and wait for that to open at 11, or are they going to go somewhere else?
My preference is it's an electronically manned. Even if they come in during business hours, they still have to leave and you need someone to let them out. You don't have the person that's just leaving to lock it up.
In that case, then you'd want that gate far enough in so that a semi could queue inside the property without blocking the road.
I have high concern about multiple vehicles backing up, two cars pulling in kind of at the same time or whatever. Or even, our safety vehicles coming for an event, and they're stopped right on the street or just, just one car length in. I mean, I think we're creating an issue with backed up traffic on Donges Bay, which is a major thoroughfare for the industrial park, by putting a gate right at the exit. Just a little coaching, and I know you don't like it.
Why?
The attorney's speaking up.
I have to speak though, because I guess I see more backups on Donges Bay if what you just described is having a gate a truck's length in where the yellow arrow is, that every vehicle coming into the site has to buzz to be let in. That likely will create a backup of trucks waiting for that one to be let in and the next one and the next one. What we want is it to be free flowing when we are open and operational and policing our own site. And just like Southland, when you get to their item, they're 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with 5 to 10 truck deliveries per week. So they're way less trucks, but they're 7 to 5. But we would want them to have their employee to have access to get through the gate at the property line if they're there during their off hours. But I just think conflating the two issues then creates this huge backup on Donges Bay. The gate at the property line will prevent trucks from coming in during second shift when we're not there, and no one wants that. I think we can all agree on that. But to have a gate even operational every truck for each one of the inbound vehicles, that I think has the great potential to create backups and problems, and that's not what we've proposed. We think that the free flow then to allow us with barriers and preventative areas so the trucks aren't on the east parking lots, have tenants over there, and to have the trucks come into where they're supposed to be, that is the optimal operations that we certainly would like the opportunity to try versus trying to create more barricades and more barriers. The Donges Bay, which has the potential to affect the new residences. Thank you, Commissioner Parrish, to pointing out that we were here first, and there could be landscaping on their side of the property line for all the buffering that apparently is needed. But the key is to keep the trucks off the property.
Well, I think with the Donges Cove, I just want to make sure that they are aware of the industrial use here, and they were probably allowed because of that industrial use, but they're assuming the industrial use would be in compliance with our code and not to be something beyond that. So I think that's the biggest difference between having an industrial user there that's following the rules versus not following the rules.
And I'm going to call out that, Jack called out in the packet, that they didn't want the challenging use to be moved to the north side by the new residents, and that was his specific call out in the packet. We're not picking winners and losers, the new residents versus an existing business, as it's being framed up in the discussion here. It's simply the fact that we don't want to change the problem from one area to another where we also know we have residential use and no existing problem, correct? So, Commissioner Stoker.
I am pretty strongly in favor of doing this, and I think the gate has to be at the property line. Based on what I'm hearing, you want to keep that gate open during your business hours, let them come back, unload, do their thing. If you put that gate back in, you are going to have way more issues with traffic jams. One semi sitting in there, cars trying to get around it. I think a semi driving down, and if there's no parking signs on Donges Bay and a semi driving up and sees a closed gate, he's not going to try and pull in. He's going to go, he's going to make a call, something. He's going to do something else. He's going to learn. From my perspective, it becomes a policing issue. If they do start parking on Donges Bay, a few tickets written will probably get the word out from my perspective. I see bringing that gate in causing way more problems than if we keep it at the property line. I'm supportive. I don't want to table this. I think there's a way around this. I was not at the last meeting, so I don't know what your feeling is as far as the planters versus the islands, but it sounds like that's going to it's going to have to be done, and I think it should be done. But I don't see a reason to table this.
So it seems like we've got a general consensus, and I'm recognizing that you're going to speak after I say this, that gate seems to be at Donges Bay versus further in the property, which is fine, right? That's why we're a commission, not an individual. That the gate would be open and free access use to the property during their operational hours. Item number 2, that the landscaping islands would be put in the parking lot to allow for vehicular traffic and, to take out one of the known problem areas where trucks have trended to park. And think, and then the trees on the north side, the required street trees need to be, the dead ones need to just be replaced.
So
Anything else we're missing beyond your standard conditions?
repairing of the grass area in this area here and something about do something with the parking lot that's existing condition. I guess, and you're basically saying to basically give up on the landscaping in this section here, which I think this might be tough anyway because there's not a lot of room there between the property line and the asphalt, so that may be a difficult one anyway. So, but I think I understand what you're saying in terms of conditions and all the other conditions with regard to idling that's in the report as well. Correct?
My last comment, if I may, please. While we're very much in favor of moving this forward and giving everybody back their time this evening, just one thing to consider, the landscaped islands, once they go in, they will not be able to be adjusted easily if we find in this process that there are some adjustments that need to be made. So one suggestion I might make on behalf of the owner would be if we keep the concrete barriers in just for 30 days or so and then replace them with landscape islands if this works 30 days from now. That would be my only suggestion because those concrete barriers are mobile, whereas the landscape islands are not.
Being respectful of that request and what Jack has stated, I don't think we're looking to have those moved in 30 days because the landscaping needs to go in by
June 30th.
June 30th. So would you be accepting to have the barriers until June 30th?
Well, I guess it depends on where. I mean, if you're talking about this section here, this is a parking lot. This is not a truck area. So I don't know what would possibly change in the future to change that situation. So I don't see why with the risk of putting in landscape barriers here. Now down here, it's a little bit more of a free-for-all. And if you wanted to allow some barriers in this area, then I guess maybe that could be temporary for now. But up in this area, this was always designed, and going back in the past, this has always been designed as a parking lot for cars, not for trucks. So I would suggest that we would require the landscape island in this area here and extend it all the way down to the point where only a car can get through this gated area. And then if you want to allow for them to allow the concrete barriers, I would do it south of the gate or the fence and leave that as a temporary solution for now.
Yeah, and then just talking about, we haven't talked at all about the signs, and staff recommended that we table that. So are we still on that page? I'd like to take it up as two separate issues then. Okay. All right. Jack, would you be open to just a sandwich board in the south parking lot, hey, no truck parking until June?
Well, the problem with the signage is that none of the signs are being followed anyway right now. So, and there's a lot of signs out there. So, but based on what you're recommending, we can figure out a sign plan that may work where we're still allowing some signage, but not overdoing it out there because they're not following the rules anyway right now with the signage.
Hey, Jack, can you help us craft a motion? Because someone will need to make a motion just with the talking points that we had based on what you have.
Sure. So you want staff conditions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the north parking lot area, north of the gate. The final gate shall be located, number 7 shall be the final gate shall be located at the property line and electronic. And we still want some design authority over that. And then
Per staff's approval.
8, I guess we still can leave, or we can modify 8 to allow a little bit more time if necessary for that. 9 would still remain. And then I think that was all the conditions I would have regarding the plan. So unless there's something else I'm missing?
The islands?
The islands would be covered under 6 and basically 8. I guess I would just need to know if you want the land, if you want to leave the ability to do the concrete barriers south of the fence.
Okay. Well, we
Well, somebody has to make it. I can't make it.
question, and then we'll take motions if that's okay.
Jack, with regards to control of the gate, I thought I had heard that the gate would be open during business hours and closed
From 5 to 11, basically. On weekdays, and it'd be closed on Sundays. Anytime they're not in operation, they would have to be
Okay,
closed.
would there be a keypad in the event that
Yeah, we would require it to be electronic of some sort to open up, either motion activated from the inside going out or a keypad on the outside coming in.
Okay.
I think we can work those details out. That's not a problem.
So people can leave when they're done with work if they want to work. 4
Yeah, if they
minutes
have
late.
extra hours, they don't get stuck in there all night.
Got it. Yeah.
If I could say one thing.
We're almost there.
First of all, with all due respect, of course, Jack, I guess I'm just thinking, it's going to take time to run power for the gate, go in for permit, right, get that all approved. The barriers, and I apologize, I did not hear in our meeting Monday that barriers, weren't allowed or wouldn't be a good temporary solution. Again, I was just trying to be very proactive and solve the parking issue in the southeast corner. I wonder if maybe temporarily the barriers in the northeast corner also, until we actually have an activated gate, it will prevent trucks from, they'll have nowhere to go except into Elmo's docks and Southland's docks during normal business hours if there are barriers there.
I don't have a problem with the barriers being there as long as they're temporary and it's known they're temporary, and we still require that landscape island to be installed and the gate to be installed. And if they need a little bit more than June 30th, I'd be open to going till like August 1st if necessary, but we still want to make sure that that's a permanent solution, not a temporary.
I'm accepting of that as well. So we just need a motion and a second on what Jack said, and we'll try to craft that. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Schaefer.
Are you saying that June 30th is not feasible? Or is it?
For the gate activation?
For implementation of the
Yeah.
site plan? That's
Yeah,
part
no.
of the proposal.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm in agreement.
Thanks.
Before the motion is made, we haven't talked hours, but number 5, Elmo does have a concern about filing with staff the 10 Saturdays because they don't know which 10 Saturdays. That's a business decision that ebbs and flows. So we'd like number 5, if that is included in the motion, to be more flexible. Like, we can let staff know if we're going to be open. I don't know, Robert, even when you know that, but that was an issue. Number 1, I don't know that there has ever been a concern about our Saturday hours in the evidence before you. No public hearing testimony is a problem on a Saturday. So the city knowing in advance when we're open, that's a hardship for us. So we're at least looking for flexibility that we don't have to give staff our known annual schedule because that changes year by
So that
year.
issue will actually go away because if we approve the gate at Don Despea, the next applicant, Southland, is open on Saturdays. So they'll be open 7 to 5, which I think is the same time as you would propose to be open. So that issue will go away if the gate's on Don Despea. So we can strike that as a condition because Southland will be open during that time frame.
Got it. So if the second applicant's there, 7 to 5 on Saturdays?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Then you should be covered. So should we just remove that item?
Yeah, we could strike that item.
Thank you.
Okay. You're earning your keep tonight, aren't you?
Try.
All right. I could use a motion.
Well, I'll go ahead. I'll try. I will move approval based on staff recommendations with scratching number 5, amending number 7 to be an electronic gate of some type at the property line, amending number 8 to be June 30th, and
No.
no?
June 30th is in the 6th. It's in number 6.
Okay. So do we just scratch the dates in number 8?
I think we keep it.
The number 8 is regarding landscaping plan coming back to you. So unless you feel like we can handle that, we can prove that as staff and that it can be implemented as part of the June 30th date. If you want to see something back in front of you, then we would have them come back at our following meeting.
I would scratch number 8 in my
Put it instead.
opinion.
You guys want to see landscape plan, just with all the discussion? Trust city staff?
So amend number 8 to be according to staff's, subject to staff approval.
Okay, that's fine.
Second.
So we got a motion and a second. Jack, I'll just coach you. If you don't agree on the landscape plan and you're in an awkward situation, just put it back on the schedule.
Okay, no problem.
If there's any disagreement on that, we'll take that burden off of your shoulder and the applicants and make a committee decision. All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on this item? And then just noting that we are not voting on the sign plan with this vote.
Just a highlight to me is along the lines of the character of the gate that you're showing, that it be bright so that it's visible. I mean, those are details, I realize, but it's got to have an important statement from right along the property line like we've got, but just so that it's visible and clearly, not just a little thin thing, but heavy duty.
In the condition, they're going to work with city staff to agree on the design and style of the
Yes.
Gate, and then also it was added in that it's an electronically manned sign versus just a mechanical one with a lock. So, we made sure we made that clear, just at least in that motion, that part
Right.
wasn't flexible based on our opinion.
Simply trying to emphasize those.
All right, Commissioner Chorn? Not Chorn.
Stoker?
Stoker, my God, I've known you since I was a kid.
I'm going to vote in favor of this, but I do want to have a word of caution. Also, having been in businesses that have a lot of distribution, one concern that I can see happening is putting the gate, which I am strongly in favor of at the lot line, trucks exiting. If they pull over, stop, want to load their GPS to something else, they want to call their girlfriend before they pull out. I'm concerned a little bit because it's wider as you exit too, that you could have trucking sitting, idling before they leave the property. And it may just be something that you guys have to monitor or keep your eye on, but I can see that happening. So that's just my only comment.
Do we want to put any signs in the street, no parking or stopping?
Well, we'll handle that through the master sign plan event. So,
That'll be handled through the master. Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that that was addressed because that was a loose item I didn't hear. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Sounds like we're at a pretty good consensus. Everyone seems happy. Okay, great. Robin, call the roll.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Urbani.
Aye.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Stoker.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchek.
All right,
Vote passes.
passes. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you all very much.
You guys are.
Second item for public hearing is Southland Industries for 5401 West Donders Bay, owner LP. The applicant is seeking conditional use grant approval to allow for a warehousing on the property located at 5201 and 5401 West Donders Bay Road. I'll need a motion to go into public hearing. Got a motion, a second to go into public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now in public hearing. Anyone that wishes to speak on this item? None have filled out cards. Hearing none from the audience. Looking for a motion to close. We got a motion and a second to close public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now out of public hearing, taking up this matter. Jack?
well, this is relatively easy. This is the same exact building. This is all the same conditions we just applied to the last one. We'll apply to this one, and we're supportive of the application. Not much to discuss on this one, I don't think.
That one's easier, isn't it?
Yes, much easier.
Yeah. I see the, both of you smiling over there, hearing that it's easy. Thank you.
I'm in agreement.
Yes, and we really appreciate your time this evening to make this part a little easier for the other tenants that will be using this building.
Yeah, thanks for being a business in Mequon. We appreciate it. Commissioner Schaefer.
Because it states that this will be supporting the data center, which is a finite build. Is this a company that is a going concern and has other business in the area, and it just happened to state that this controversial data center just happened to be part of the packet? Or is it their, I'm just kind of trying to figure out, I don't know anything about Southland, nor did I, full transparency, didn't do research on it. But because the data center has been certainly in our news of late, and because it sounds like it's construction and engineering, which really makes me think that it's more for the initial phase, and once it's built, what does Southland do beyond that? Is this a temporary?
Yeah. I did not do the lease, but it is a 3-year lease. And so I think it is to support their construction activity. Yeah.
Construction and development of the data center. So we're the beneficiary of a leased property in the city of Mequon.
I don't want it.
And I'll note that the lease has already been executed. It's signed.
Great. Looking for a motion or additional discussion? Commissioner Chorn.
A motion to approve based on staff's comments.
Do we need to scratch things just like the previous one or no?
Let me look. Jack, anything we got to take out of this one?
I would just make the same motion as the last one, basically. It's just an echoing of the last one, so.
Motion to approve with the same
Conditions is the last one, yes.
conditions as the last one?
Yep.
Item 14.
So I got a motion to approve the same conditions as the last one and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing no hands up. Call the roll.
Commissioner Ellsworth,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Aye.
Commissioner Stoker, Commissioner Barnes,
Aye.
Commissioner Urbani,
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin,
Aye.
Alderman Parrish,
Aye.
Alderman Stralcheck.
Aye.
Vote passes.
All right, thank you. Appreciate
Good
it.
night, thank you.
All right, so that is it for public hearing, and we're on to regular business. Next item on the agenda is Excel Engineering for Hat Trick Development LLC. The applicant is seeking rezoning recommendation from R3 to CGO overlay to R3/TDR/PUD concept plan and preliminary plat addition approval to allow for 19 single-family lots for the property located immediately north of 8440 West Donges Bay Road, enclave at Mequon Preserve Phase X or 10, depending on how you read that. Jack.
Yes, this one's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of regulatory issues involved, but the development itself is pretty straightforward. So this is the enclave to the on the right side of the screen. This is the existing road that serves the development. Where currently the applicant has an option on the parcel directly to the west, where they would extend the Skylark Drive into this location and then create a cul-de-sac here, and then they would hammerhead it off at the west property line where there's a vacant farmland. So this property is a yield of 16 lots. They also have 3 TDR credits, our last 3 TDR credits that we'll be able to use. 2 they own and 1 they are purchasing from an entity that has a contract on. They have a contract on, so we're supportive of getting rid of those last 3 TDR credits. This will require rezoning because they're going to incorporate this into the same PUD as the existing enclave development. There is one typo in the report on item staff recommendation number 14. It says minimum 21 and 2,500. Those are actually 19 and 2,100. That was approved. That was just an older version that got put into the report. But the PUD is actually approved at 19 and 2,100 square feet, not 21 and 2,500. So we're not changing anything. It was just a typo in the report. Other than that, it meets all the requirements of our TDR and R3 standards, so we're supportive of the development and we recommend approval.
Great, and I have one person that did come forward. I was just brought up a slip. Julianne Hunter, 8440 West Donges Bay Road. Does not list if she's a supporter or opposes, but she does wish to speak. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you. Oh, there we go. I'm not here to oppose anything. I just want to make a couple of comments. My husband and I, Charles Tritt and I, are the property owners directly to the south of the parcel under discussion. And we have looked over the plans. Just want to say that we're glad to see that wastewater issues are being addressed. There's the retention pond. Obviously, we would not want any erosion or runoff concerns that affect our property as the development goes forward. So it looks like those issues are being addressed. Also, glad to see the green space and the plantings. If any more trees were to find their way onto the property line, that would be welcome, but I guess that's for another day. The concern that we have that I want to give voice to early on in the process here is in regard to lighting. I'm saying this because in the existing phases of the development, there's a lot. There's a lot of vanity lighting on the homes in that area. I don't know if that issue comes into play at this point in the process, or even if the developer has any, if that's within their purview, if they have any control over that issue. But I do want to go on record early on in the process, as I said, as having concerns about that. I did see in staff notes that street lighting would be dealt with if it was proposed down the road. It would adversely affect our quality of life to have excess lighting, and given the amount of vanity lighting in the existing phases of development, which seems, over there, it seems almost out of step with other existing traditional developments in the area. That would adversely impact us. Also, I just want to state some concern for wildlife in the area, particularly with the nature preserve across the road from our property. That light pollution does adversely affect wildlife. And I would really want to see as much done as possible to exist in harmony with the nature preserve and the goal of the nature preserve there. It's a real gem for Mequon, and I would want to see wildlife protected as much as possible in that regard.
Thank you. Anything else? Appreciate you coming forward. I love that you got applause too. That's awesome. Jack, so 2 items of concern that the resident brought forward were, lighting and potential trees at the lot line. If we can just maybe comment on that. And
Well, the lighting, we don't regulate residential lighting on single-family lots. The development could put in street lighting. I know Matt's here from Veridian. I don't believe they have any existing lighting on the streets, so I don't think this phase would have any additional street lighting, but we don't.
shake his head no.
Yeah, so we don't regulate what actually happens on single-family lots unless there's a big trespass issue. That's the only thing we regulate from single-family lighting. So with regard to the tree issue, there isn't really much on the aerial that I can see from buffering. There was one large tree which we did investigate to see if that tree was a specimen tree. It's a large tree, but it's got some split damage to it, so the city forester did not recommend it as being it's a large tree, but it's just not in good shape, so he didn't recommend it as being a specimen tree. The only other location I could see for perimeter was this location here. And in fact, they did a land division where in order to get their yield to 16, they actually swapped land with the soccer club. So their land actually used to go all the way down to here. Now it stops here, and then this portion is actually owned by the soccer field. So this will remain as is. It's not part of this development. So I don't see any really issues with the trees coming into play on this site in terms of existing trees. And then the only thing else I'll add is they do show up a connection between the 2 developments of the pedestrian path. And we're also requiring a sidewalk on the north side of Skylark Lane. That wasn't on the original plan, but since this will anticipate, this will connect through, I'll show you the aerial. This is a very large undeveloped piece. This is one of our last pieces left in Central Growth. It's a very large 100-acre site. We anticipate that that'll become kind of a main thoroughfare, so we want that sidewalk extended through that area as well. So other than that, we recommend approval. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, and then the other concern was the wildlife, and I do want to highlight the fact that because the nature preserve went in, the TDR credits did come from that site, and that's why they're being used here. And I'm glad to see the last 3 being used, because those have bounced around and created objections at several different proposals moving forward on lot size and density, and I think you've incorporated it nicely with the existing plan here. So I appreciate your guys' thoughtful use of those TDR credits. And Mrs. Hunter, was there anywhere that you wanted to see the trees? Did Jack address the question there? Do you have any areas of concern, or just?
Not particularly concerned, but I don't the boundary line between our properties. I'm just saying we would not object to any plantings that would go there. Anything to prevent soil erosion and enhance privacy.
Duly noted.
Yeah, lighting is the big concern.
Okay. Great.
I appreciate the information.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Just want to acknowledge, because you're the single house with the subdivision right behind you, so that's great. Commissioners. Any discussion or a motion?
I will make a motion to approve per staff's recommendations.
Second.
Any discussion? with the corrections to
Condition
the lot
14.
sizes.
The home sizes, yes.
What's that?
The home sizes,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Should we call the roll? We'll call the roll. It's a big development, so.
Commissioner Barnes. Commissioner Urbani.
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Stoker.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchek.
Aye,
Vote passes.
vote passes. Thank you, everybody. Next item on the agenda, P2 Development Company LLC. The company is seeking business and site plan approval for the 5 properties located at 11030, 11020, and 10950 North Buntrock Avenue, 11027 North Weston Drive, and the property immediately south. 5B, I see 2 people wishing to speak. Oh, one, sorry, I had 2 of them here. Kathy Burkhart, 6340 West Industrial Drive, wishes to speak, hasn't listed whether she's for or against. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, I own the property on the corner of Buntrock and Industrial.
Oh, we need to get the mic on, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I own the property on the corner of Buntrock and Industrial, just immediately to the south of this development. And there's just a lot going on in the diagrams that I looked at, and so I don't have any kind of opposition. I guess I just, since I took the I'm here, and I wanted to just verify that experts are looking at the drainage, hopefully, and just want to verify that there won't be water issues on my property, and then also just that nothing about this development immediately on the border of my vacant land will prevent it from being or restrict its future development in any way.
Great, thanks, Kathy, appreciate you.
Thanks.
Jack.
I think Cole could address, there is a flow that goes through there, and I'll let Cole address that issue when I finish my portion of the report. So this is a building and site plan approval for the development, phase 1 of the development, which includes the 58 row houses. Many of you may remember this went through rezoning a number of months ago. We've met with the applicant several times. We had plans. We asked him for changes, significant changes to lighting, landscaping, site, and he made all the changes, and in fact, he got it to us before we had a chance to modify the report. So you'll see in the report that it just says we just agreed to everything that he's done because he's made all the changes we wanted. So, so this kind of shows the layout of the plan. As you remember, there's a pedestrian way that kind of cuts through from Weston all the way to Stephan. We have buildings located here, 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 and here, and here. The proportion that's not being proposed at this time is the 3-story building. The red dashed line kind of shows the area that will be second phase. That'll be the 3-story building that Foxtown more likely will be doing, but everything else as part of this development is being completed at the same time. With regard to the architecture, same thing. We had some comments with regard to the design of the buildings, and he made all those changes. I can go through them. So there's 3 separate designs. I'll kind of zoom out a little bit so you can see a little bit better. So there's 3 separate designs that are listed as options. I think it's A2 and 5A. I'm not sure where the numbers came from, but this shows the different elevations of the buildings. We did have some critique of those, and he made all the changes we're looking for, so hopefully Marty's okay with what we suggested, because we think they look really nice, and they'll be definitely a benefit to the neighborhood. So we're supportive of this project. We're excited. If you've been over there, you've probably seen there's a lot of demo going on and a lot of movement of earth, so they're looking to go great guns on the project, and we're looking forward to getting this done. So we support the project in its entirety and recommend approval.
Can we coach a little bit on the water concerns came up in the future development of the property at 6340 West Industrial, just making sure that we're not hindering on anything there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a drainage way that kind of comes through the existing site right now. The new development will accommodate that through a pipe. We'll make sure that's accommodated, the sizing, make sure that's all appropriate. The site will have to meet stormwater management regulations, as do others. We'll also look at the other property to the south as a portion of that one is also coming through the site, kind of going north through some existing storm sewer. So we'll make sure those are sized appropriately in our review.
Perfect.
Question?
Go ahead, Commissioner Barnes.
Just a question on, call it pedestrians in the area, what with all the housing. I'm fully in support of the project. My concern, I think I brought this up before, is just with being next to the school, with parental drop-off traffic, students walking, et cetera. And in that light, one thought I had is there intent to have marked crosswalks?
There is a marked crosswalk currently at Stefan, I
Rock,
believe.
or what, I guess it's Bunt Rock through there? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a marked crosswalk in this location here currently, and that'll remain as is. And it ties in nicely to development. There's a sidewalk along here. We did not ask for a crosswalk here because there's really no sidewalk coming from the school in its parking lot. And as you recall, we actually had them terminate the driveway access here. So we feel like this will be a nice development and it'll not impede any traffic coming out of the school district during peak times.
Okay, great. I guess it's just keeping our eyes open on parental traffic through the area. I don't know what, but it's just a recurring problem at school, next to a school zone, or next to a school's.
Number one concern I had that was brought up too. I see the applicant up there. I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge you before I went to commission. Did you have anything that you wanted to comment on, and the staff's conditions are acceptable?
Yeah, no, staff's, Jamie with P2 Development, we've worked with staff and feel like we were presenting a nice plan here that we're happy with and don't have any issues with staff's comments.
Alderman Parrish.
Yep, welcome. Thank you for your application. Nice job to staff for your thorough review. Can you just touch on why you're supportive of a waiver to the acceleration, deceleration bypass lane and where that is, and confirm it's not in front of the school?
That's an engineering item. I'll let Cole handle that one.
Yeah, that's the entrance on Weston. Jack, if you could point that out on the screen. So maybe Jack can touch on this too, but typical cross section for town center is the on-street parking that would make Excel decel impossible, and then the bypass, there's not enough room in the right of way to do that in this location.
My concern was more from the school, just because we have a lot of issues around our other schools, especially in my district, Donges Bay Elementary and Rangeline, where it's really a nightmare. So I just don't want to create a new queuing issue. So can you just zoom out a little bit, Jack? Can you show the school relative to this development?
Sure. So the school is located to the north of the development, or to the west of the development up here. So there's no access point on Buntrock, so there is no XL diesel lanes being proposed or waived in that case. So the only access to the site will be through this location here, which is an existing driveway now, and then a new driveway located here off of Weston.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and then we added that sidewalk that was the walking path so the kids could walk through there to get somewhere else if they wanted to go in town center, which I liked, where there's no street traffic, which is something that we haven't addressed, in previous developments. So good job.
This is not a traffic study. I can speak anecdotally, having had students at Stefan for the last 6 years and seeing the increase. I think what they do, right, is if they're not going north, which most of them don't, they'll come through the parking lot that's Wilson's parking lot, and then they go on the sidewalk, they go to the marked crosswalk, they turn and go north. I think that actually this new driveway is probably going to get a lot of additional traffic because they'll then go north. They typically sit at the stoplight that's right next to Foxtown, on the corner of Mequon Road and Buntrock, and wait to cross, and that's tricky because it's kids and they're a little unpredictable and not always as cautious as they could be. But I'm guessing that there's going to be a lot of traffic that comes down through that driveway and to get to the public market, because that's kind of where they go and gather. So I think it's good. I think it will alleviate that them crossing up there. Now they're going to try to cross like right at the public market, and it's just going to. This is really neither here nor there. It's more me thinking as a parent about what my child is going to do, and being concerned that we're kind of just shuffling it. But it's always going to be a high traffic area. There's 2 schools of our 6 in that area. So the more we can be mindful of the fact that there's going to be traffic from kids, not just parent drop off, but kids physically riding their bikes and walking in that area, the better off we're going to be as far as alleviating potential accidents. I don't know. I'm starting to worry a little bit about how they're going to leverage that driveway and then cars coming in and out of there. And I don't have a solution. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I have nothing of value to bring to that topic.
Well, on the benefit side there, we are extending the sidewalk. So now we have a sidewalk going all the way from basically the school parking lot all the way to Mequon Road, which didn't exist even a couple years ago. So that's definitely a safety improvement.
Better.
So.
Yeah. So, yeah. I feel like they're not going to stop. It's good. We want them to be biking and being outside. We also have a lot of traffic on those roads, car traffic.
Yeah, during drop-off. I remember multiple times there was a kid biking, like literally right on the road
Yeah,
during drop-off.
right next to you. Like you can high
I
five.
love the fact that the kid was biking, but I just cringed every time I saw him coming.
Yeah, with no helmet.
Any other comments from commissioners or a motion? We can have conversation after if we want. Commissioner Chor?
A motion to approve based on staff's comments?
You can just blurt that out. You don't need me to tell you. You can make a motion. I do all the time. Got a motion and a second on the table. Do we have any other discussion, any other questions? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the list is Mark Lalonde. The applicant is seeking a minor request approval to allow for 36,200 cubic yards for contaminated soil capping on the property at 6529 West Highland Road. We'll lead out with
This one here.
quick Cole's on deck.
I'll give an overview. Yes, yeah, that one, Jack. Okay. All right, this applicant is here for approval for fill exceeding 1,000 cubic yards. The applicant applied for a first phase of his project, which is a total of about 36,000 cubic yards of fill on his property. If you go back to that one, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
So phase 1 would be part of what's laid out as an 11-phase project for filling over the north half of this property. It's about a 60-acre property. The area that's being filled here is the north portion. That's mainly the only area that it's not wetland, or I think there's some floodplain to the south as well. So just for context, the total ultimate fill request would be somewhere between 250,000 and 440,000 cubic yards of fill. And just for context, that's the ultimate request is about around like 30,000 truckloads for dump trucks. The phase 1 application right now is probably between like 2,500 and 3,000 truckloads. Just to put it in context, because it's hard to picture these larger numbers. So as you can kind of see on the plan here, it's around 8 to 12 feet of proposed fill over the area that's highlighted here. Pretty consistent over the site. It's about that depth. And just for background, the main reason that the applicant is coming forward for this fill is there's been some contamination on the site with the historical uses. It was a gravel mine. It was a asphalt batch plant. Caused ground contamination, both in the groundwater and soil. There's a report from the applicant's environmental consultant, on things that have been done to date on the site to try to clean some of that up. The reason for the filling is to sort of add a cap to the contaminated soil that can remain in place. That's a typical thing that DNR recommends, typically with their standard that they recommend is around a narrower, a thinner layer of cap over contaminated areas. The technical stuff that we found recommended, it's typically a 2-foot thick cap over this. So with that, we had some concerns with the plan as was submitted here. The 8 to 12 feet, the 8 to 12 feet of fill proposed goes over the entire site rather than just phase 1 that he's showing right now. This resembles more of a mass grading operation rather than just a 2-foot environmental cap that I mentioned per what's typical of DNR. This would be more akin to like a subdivision development. That's something that the applicant also did bring up. It might be a potential future interest to go down the path of a development. A residential development was kind of thrown out there as an option that they were going to look into. Another reason that we're kind of concerned with this, what's shown right now, is there hasn't been soil borings done. This is outside of our sewer service area. There hasn't been soil borings done yet that show where septic systems could be placed on the site, and we're worried that filling over the entire site might disturb or permanently basically destroy where some of those can be placed. So we want to make sure that's done first to not hinder the applicant further down the line if that's something that wants to be completed. So we're generally not supportive of the use, the fill right now outside of a development plan. With some of the recommendations or the application for the soil fill, the soil cap, that might be more in line with what we'd be okay with. But as of right now, some other changes we're recommending need to be done to the plan, and some additional information from the DNR and his environmental consultant likely. There's some specimen trees on the site that aren't shown on here. It doesn't look like they'd be impacted, but we would need them shown on a future plan as well. So some other considerations for commission as well. Future phases would each require a planning commission approval. Planning commission approval would only be good for 1 year, and the applicant has stated this will likely be a multi-year endeavor. So at the end of the year, or basically at the end of the permit term, the applicant would need to as-built what he's done, show that it meets the plan that was approved, and then come back to planning commission if a continuation is desired. So I guess with that, happy to answer any questions. The applicant's also here to answer any questions. Our recommendation is to table the request until some of those additional things are provided to us. We do want a dedicated plan showing the actions on site or on phase 1. If it's going to be that 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 feet of fill requested, we want to see just what that looks like with phase 1. If it's going to be more of a reduced thickness soil cap for the contaminated soil, we want to see that on a plan prior to approval at this body. Our city attorney also recommended to set up a development agreement for the work here that'll provide us some protections for hauling operations on our streets and making sure those aren't damaged. It also lay out the fill specifications, erosion control, stormwater, all the other stuff that normally is in one of those. And then we were also looking for some DNR correspondence or some further clarification on why the increased thickness is being desired at this point. And then a haul route map from the applicant showing where these trucks are going to be going so we can review that. Happy to answer any questions.
I'll turn it over to the applicant just to share a little bit of your feedback and maybe what you're looking to do.
Sure,
and
I'm
why.
actually a little surprised. I thought I was coming here for a recommendation to approve.
The recommendations to table.
That's news to me. I guess I'm taken back a little bit. The site itself is contaminated. There's over a dozen monitoring wells. We do have all the correspondence submitted to the city in regards to any questions they had, including a development plan that my attorney requested last week. It doesn't have a plan. I don't have a plan for this land. What I'm trying to do is improve it. It was bought for recreational use for my 5 kids for 4-wheeling during COVID. We cleaned it as we were going along. This capping is just another one of the processes. In regards to his Cole has been given an incredible amount of material to review. I don't know if there wasn't enough time, but again, I'm a little shocked that I'm not getting a recommended continue with this because it is an ongoing process. The filling operation will definitely take years, just like the cleanup operation did. So it's not going to be all at once. The reason why the map is divided up like it is because I've met with the city 3 different times, once with Jack and Cole at initial meetings, and then 3 other times at the desk. I implemented all of their recommendations. I've had these conversations with the desk. If you can't tell, I'm a little disappointed that their recommendation is to table. That being said, per acre, I don't think the 30,000 truckloads is a lot. I think if you take that development you guys just approved and you took it by the square foot of trucking, there's going to be less trucking on this 60-acre site than it is going to be for that site that you have adjacent to the school. So again, it's a big site. The 500,000 cubic yards is a lot, but that's what we got approval from on our DNR permit, which is in hand. This is the last step we have to do, as I told staff, to remain compliant with the city. That's our goal. That's all we want to do. So my purpose of bringing this before you was missed. It was to remain compliant. So I would hope, having gone through the subdividing and looking at what was discussed, and this was a product of one of the meetings, we just want to get the pond dug, put the erosion control in, and if there's clean, common fill that is suitable for capping this site, which is immense, is available, because it's not a we, it's just me, would like to be able to continue that process.
Can you comment on the amount of fill over the time and the variance in what Cole reviewed
Yeah.
as far as maybe like 2 feet, which seems to be standard in the 12? Because I know the commissioners are going to ask you that question immediately.
2 feet is the minimum coverage. 2 foot is a minimum coverage between the contaminated fill that's there, that has been detected and monitored by myself and Freeze Environmental. 2 foot is a minimum. I'm doing a reclamation project right now at the City of Milwaukee Harbor District North. We go from 2 foot, which is a minimum, to 4 foot. Basically, and staff has been made aware of this, we chose 8 to 12 to make sure no one would penetrate the cap. If you have to go back to the DNR with a plan that penetrates that cap, it is a lot more work. So our idea was if there ever is a future for this site, which it probably won't be from me, there won't be an issue hitting that contaminated material. That was, like I said, no one's going to tell you at the DNR what's the right value. The capping is going to be monitored on an annual basis by you guys. If 30,000 cubic yards is available in 1 year, phase 1 will be done and be ready to go to phase 2. If 15,000 cubic yards is available, that's all we'll do, and then we'll winterize it. So it really is just a capping filling operation. It's our last step in the DNR process, which is all documented in what I submitted to the city.
Okay. And then I know there's some concerns with the grading plans and where that fill was going to go, correct?
I think our main concern was that we don't see why, with the unknown of what this site would eventually develop into, if anything, we just didn't want this particular grading plan, the fill of 8 to 12 feet over the entire site, to harm or affect whatever the future plan would be for the site, rather than doing something more minimal first and then getting the environmental stuff figured out and capped and then proceeding from there. That's why we were recommending that, this would be a lot more easy to review if it was accommodated by a development plan.
Guys, I don't know what the development would be. We offered to get the city, through my attorney, a development plan which would include just a whole harmless. I can't tell you if it's going to be one home. I don't know if homes are going to be able. We do have her septic online to do soil testing. If there's soils out there that are suitable for sanitary, we may have to augment this plan, but that would be several years down the road. Again, we don't have an end use for the site. We are trying to remain compliant, as we have been, with the city. We just don't want to be there without you guys know what's going on. Again, that plan right there with those elevations and those tow poles has been approved by the Wisconsin DNR.
Okay, great. Commissioner Chorn.
I guess you had answered the first question that initially this is going to be just kind of a recreational spot for the kids. But obviously some thought went into the grading so that presumably there wouldn't be major modifications should you want to put some housing in here. So if you put some housing in here, you'd have to come back and revise the grading plan.
Yeah, this plan would be something you guys would see every year. It's a 1-year permit. I cannot move 500,000 cubic yards in 10 years. Right, so, I mean, Cole had asked me at one of our meetings, why not put 2 foot in sections 1, 3, 4, 7? We have to traverse this site. Again, that's an economics question and also a feasibility question. What's reasonable, right? Well, it would be reasonable to get that Area 1 done at the proposed elevation so that all the haul roads, all of the storm sewer and traversable items you put in there, such as haul roads, can be removed, then moved to site number 2 and 3 and 4. I'm a private citizen that's just flipping the bill for this. I do have to be cost conscious on it. So to put 2 foot everywhere and then bury all the haul roads is not practical.
But if you limit your initial effort to the area called number 1,
sure.
I mean, the contours have to be modified where they meet 2 and 7 and.
Sure. That's taken into consideration in our sequencing. If you look 1, 2, and 3 are on the interior of the property, those contours can be maintained and stormwater can be managed through that.
Alderman Parrish.
Excuse me, I'm just getting caught up on this. Is this for a 4-wheel park?
No.
Is that the purpose of it?
No, there is no end game here. Literally, this is just to keep the effort. Right now, there's 60 acres in Mequon that is contaminated. I bought it. So I removed all the berry contaminants. I took all of the lead off the site that Mequon's police department shot into the piles there. I had to trommel them out, right? So that's all documented as well. So all the cleanup is done now. So all of the hazard and hazardous materials that the DNR did a study in 2004, we met all that criteria, including vapor testing, 4/4 of the monitoring wells testing. We've done all of that. That's what my environmental engineer is in charge of. So once we did that, we then submitted for the capping. There is no proposed, there's no roadway on there. There's no parking, there's no road, there's nothing. So right now, it's a blank slate. I am just looking for the city's approval to be able to bring in the clean dirt, which is, there's a finite amount, right, available annually, and we only get it from basically April to the end of September. That's when most of your excavation is done, so that would be a byproduct that would come to the site. We just don't want to miss out on that. The end is never going to be a 4-wheeler park. I had sent an email requesting what were the permitted uses. I think this is R3. Jack, you seem to know most about that.
It's R1, 5 acre for the most part.
Okay, so what would be a permitted use?
5 acre residential housing.
That's probably what it'll end up being then.
Commissioner Parrish.
I do like the idea of active pursuit of closure. I'd like that to happen as soon as possible. Do you have a timeline in your closure? Because you have a closure maintenance plan, and does that say 2 feet or does it say 10 feet? They're not just gonna let you put 10 feet down. That would be part of your proposed plan. So is that what's approved? And has staff seen that plan?
Staff has the plan, it's right behind you.
It says 10 feet?
It says between 8 to 10 feet.
That's what the DNR approved?
That's what we have a permit from the DNR to put on the site, yes.
Okay, so they
So the
were okay with the thicker cap on here?
Yeah, the DNR had no problem with that. Again, Freeze Environmental will be the person that puts together the closure packet based on what the final use will be. So again, if you're familiar with that, if there were in year 3, we wanted to relocate a storm pond, because this would be fluid. So let's say instead of it being 1 acre, we're putting a detention pond at the back before it gets to the river, went up there. So maybe detention pond 2 would have to be there. Then I would have to augment my plan to the DNR first, then repropose it to you guys. You guys get a kick at this annually. It's just that if I don't get a permit.
Why not just do the 2-foot cap though? Then we can get closure on the site as soon as possible, and then you'll just continually to add fill over the years that come. Like, I'd rather see you rather than do this year after year, let's just get the cap in, 2 feet, get closure, and yeah, you can keep bringing in fill over time. You'll have plenty of time then to satisfy staff's septic. But I think the city's position to be to get closure to a contaminated site, and like, I guess my concern is I'm just hearing like this could take a while. So
Yeah.
for me, whether it's 2 feet or 10 feet, I just want closure. And Cole, good job trying to predict what developments will be proposed here. But I think in some ways he's maybe saving, John could probably speak to this, he might be saving the future developer some costs. He might be adding some costs. But like, who cares? Then he's just making the site less saleable. So how do we get closure as soon as possible? That's what I'd like to see. Can you just address that really quick? Why can't we just do the 2-foot closure cap now?
The 2-foot closure could be achieved with the plan we have available. I had to give you guys something that is what I thought would be the most practical use of the site. A 2-foot closure is still going to require having to put more on top of it if you're ever going to develop it. So again, I talked about the economics of it. If you put 2 foot everywhere, well, then you have to if you're going to put another 2 foot on top,
We'll reopen it.
you have to reopen
Yeah,
the whole
I get
site.
it.
So to sequence it is the most practical way of approaching this. Now, if in phase 1, we get 4 foot of it there, and we recognize that, hey, phase 2 could be done at 4 foot as well, or maybe phase 3, that wasn't really proposed, but that's the agility and flexibility we're going to want on the site. Again, we just want to continue the cleanup. 2 foot is the minimum. I'm just going to say that again. And the site has been a contaminated site with free product on it.
Yeah, and
Right?
kudos to you, by the way, for being proactive and trying to clean up the site. And now let's finish it. I guess that would be my position. Let's get the cap, and if you want to come back then afterwards with a managed plan to add fill to certain areas, that's totally doable.
So you would approve a 2 foot cap, which is the minimum.
Just so you can get it done in a timely manner within the next, is that possible, within the next 12 months?
You're still talking 250. Oh, no, absolutely
No?
not.
You can't
No,
get 2
no.
feet down?
This
Okay.
this is something my kids will probably finish.
Okay. I think we need to hear from Commissioner Stoker to call on you, but.
Go ahead.
I heard you say the 8 to 10 feet, so we can dig a basement and not have contaminated soil
Right.
to deal with in the end. Ultimately, if it's going to be residential, that would be ideal to have 8 or 10 feet on it.
Right.
Or every house is going to have to deal with contaminated soil, and it is a nightmare.
Right.
That being said, 2 feet over this entire site, I mean, I can't even imagine, that's probably 2 years, 3 years? I don't even know how long.
All right, so you said there's like 400,000 cubic yards of fill that would be available unexpanded right now. So you'd be 1/4 that?
Yeah.
So expand it, 250,000 cubic yards. Some years we might have 10,000 cubic yards. Other years we may have 4. It's all dependent upon what's available. We've been on the site and we've had a tracking pad in place and we've kept the road and everything clean. We have taken material off the site. So as long as those elements are maintained, we purposely did not remove anything in phase 10 and 11 that had a monitoring well that was clean. We left all the vegetation there. We left all the vegetation along the railroad tracks. And then we were really diligent in working with the DNR and having the wetlands delineated before we did anything. So we've done our due diligence here. We know what we're doing, is what I'm trying to say. You know, if you don't trust me, you got 12 minutes or 12 months to say, we're not liking this. The issue that, and I explained this to your staff, we could table it till next month. We've entertained every recommendation staff has given us to this point. Like I said, I'm a little shocked that I'm not sitting here because the last comment that Cole said is, why would the city not want to have someone cap contaminated land? I'm offering this up to you. The city should look at this as, this is a good thing. And for future use, that's why we would want to put we don't want to go minimum on this. Cole himself had said you guys had a issue at your waste yard. Did you guys end up penetrating that cap?
I don't think we did. Yeah, we stayed above it.
Okay. There's a reason why you guys stayed above it. You don't want to penetrate the cap. You want to be clear of it. And that was what was told to me as well. That was told me by my JSD, the professional engineers that I hired, also Freezy Environmental. They told me the same thing. That's why we're preparing for this. Maybe in year 10, one of you guys will want to develop the site and just put 2 foot on the rest of it and be done with it. I don't have that right now.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
How are you going to do if we approve this year and we approve it now or in a month? And future commissions, I mean, we'd be lucky to be here in 10 years and we'd be honored to serve in this spot. But commissions change it, and so do opinions. That's an awful lot of trucking. And I can tell you, as this goes to council, you're going to get pushback on the trucking.
Sure.
And the amount of trucking coming into the city. And I just don't know that, I mean, I'm just going to be really direct with you. I don't know every site is designed for a subdivision. And I don't know that the city should have to have, 500,000 yards of fill coming in to build a subdivision and, over the streets that are already busy and everything else, to support that because you had a contaminated lot. Now, we appreciate the fact that you want to, cap a contaminated lot. We want to try to make it useful. I think that's what city staff is trying to do for you today. But, I am going to question you because, this is a phased project over 10 years. If the pulse of the council, after you've invested 2-3 years of fill, says, hey, enough trucking, it's getting to be burdensome, we're getting complaints, doesn't fall under the pulse of what it is. Are you just going to be okay with that, with a capped property? And that's what you have to move forward? Or, as Cole is asking, to have it tabled and have more of a master plan drawn up with some large outcomes and understanding the full breadth of what the city would approve and the intent of where you want to go, and have that on record. I think that not only covers you as an individual and somebody looking to change that property into something usable, and it also covers the city as well as the residents, so everyone knows what they're getting and everyone knows what to plan on. So, thoughts on that?
Okay, your first comment was, am I okay if it only gets capped with 2 foot? That was your, yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So if in 3 years you guys say we're done capping, you guys have ultimate control over that. That's your decision. So I don't have any say in that.
Okay.
All right. Number 2, not every site has to be a subdivision. I'm not asking you for a subdivision permit right now, right? I'm asking you to cap contaminated fill.
Okay.
Yeah, well, what's the purpose is the question. In the end, goal of this whole thing.
Don't
if
have
it turns into a subdivision, then
I don't know, I get that we want to know the purpose. If he chooses to be an environmental steward, and he tells us that's the reason that he wants to just do it,
maybe the city wants to buy it for me in 10 years and you guys want to put a baseball diamond on it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
It's correct me if I'm wrong, this is next to the bike trail, right?
This is, okay, so between the bike trail and this property are the railroad tracks and a drainage ditch.
Okay.
And none of that vegetation has
Almost
been touched,
protected.
nor will it.
Yeah.
It's not impacted, that vegetation was not impacted and is not impacted by the contaminated fills.
Commissioner Stoker.
I think, I'm trying to empathize with the applicant here a little bit. I think what everyone here is missing is the financing side of this. Even to cap it, he's relying on free fill. Someone's not going to come in and purchase and bring in 10 feet of fill. It would be millions of dollars, and this property would be useless for anything because no one could afford it. So what he's looking for is, over time, to be able to take advantage of free fill. Now, I'll hate him because there's going to be times that he's going to be taking fill that I need, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, call me.
No, but the reality is to make this site, forget whether it's residential. Like you said, it's a baseball diamond. I don't know, and again, I'm not an environmental person. I don't know if you want a baseball diamond 2 feet above the cap or the existing soils, or you want to be 5 feet. But he's just trying to get the flexibility to, over the next 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, take advantage of free fill. And like you said, he may get 1 year a ton of it, and it's very cyclical when we can get fill and we can't get fill. So it's really an economical thing is what I'm seeing.
Sure it is.
He's trying to do this without, he's not coming to us saying, I'm going to spend $30 million of my own money buying fill. He wants to do it, but there's certainly costs he has because the fill comes in and something has to be done with it. So it's a very generous offer he's making. It's just, I think it's going to take time. And I think that's what you're scared of, because you're going to have new planning commissioners, you're going to have new council members.
Yeah.
But
Well,
ultimately, I think, I see what you're doing and it's an improvement to a bad situation, and, we should be thankful for that. So
Cole, question for you. So I have two concerns, and I'll be just real transparent with it. I'm the alderman in the district. I'm going to get a lot of calls on this with the trucks coming by. I guarantee it. So Cole, I want to make sure, a couple things. One, we don't have a plan for grading. What I would want to do is maximize the capping with each agreement, right? And I would want to make sure that the most land was capped as quickly as possible, as early on. The intent is to be an environmental steward. Let's make, steps in that direction. And Cole, do you have something in place that shows an agreement as to what that would look like for the amount of fill being requested tonight?
No, we don't. And that was, I would say the main concern is we don't have something that shows what phase one is by itself, and we don't have any consideration for the 2-foot cap option, we'll say, or maximizing the area of capping.
Okay. My second concern is the amount of fill that needs to come in for anything above and beyond that 2 feet. And I know it's easier if you want to build and you don't want to break through the cap and you don't want to do certain things. I just have a concern on tolerance. There's a reason that these fill permits come forward before Planning Commission over a certain amount. It's because there is a burden on the city with the amount of trucking coming in and those things. So I want to make sure that, we have a strong pulse check. Your intent sounds great. I really like you. I'm glad that you came forward tonight to, ask for this, and thank you for being willing to, deal with a contaminated site. I mean, had I had foresight and the cash flow to make it an ATV park and, for my kids.
It's not an ATV park. Don't tell my neighbors that.
I had an ATV
I
with-
live in the neighborhood adjacent to it. The reason why I had to buy it, it's a funny story, is my HOA, COVID hit.
Yeah.
Kids were driving me crazy. I had 5 of them,
Yeah.
right?
Get out
I
of
went
the
to an
house.
auction. I bought 5 ATVs. I put them on my 6-acre lot just adjacent to this because I'm in the Ridgeview subdivision.
Yeah.
The second day I was driving them, my neighbor stopped out. It's against our HOA. I didn't know that. So we put them away. This place came for sale, and I bought it and put them on there. So that's the intent. That's why we bought it, right? So, but that it really isn't.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Right. And just.
Sorry for using the word ATV park.
Yeah,
I know
no,
that
I get
wasn't
it.
your
I get it.
intent,
Right.
but,
Right. It's sensitive. It's very sensitive because I wouldn't have had to buy this site.
Yeah.
It did remain vacant. It's been vacant for the better part of three decades since Hoffman took down their asphalt plant.
Okay.
So
I'm just going to finish with what I'm saying. You know, I know that it's a surprise to you. I personally, in order to get a yes vote from me on anything tonight, would prefer to see, you know, what that grading plan is and how that capping would be maximized, and then, you know, have maybe a little further discussion on really what the intent and the amount of trucking for that site, you know, moving forward as far as what the city tolerance is, you know. It goes to council approval because of the amount of fill as well, correct?
The DA, the development agreement, would go to council, and that's also part of the reason why we're recommending to table, is because even if we did approve anything here, we would still need that development agreement in place like any other development that we have here prior to issuing any permits or any disturbed ground on the site. And that document would get into the requirements, like what we would do on the haul route to make sure that the road doesn't get damaged, the financial obligations in place, like all those things that you were kind of alluding to.
Which we offered.
Thank you. Commissioner Urbani?
So this was a very interesting read for me. I do have a chemistry background, and I was horrified to read that all of this stuff was in our city. And I thought the city had commissioned to like have it cleaned. So then, and I keep reading, and that's you are cleaning it, and you did a lot of things to clean it up.
Right.
Removing contaminated soil. But this is essentially like a toxic waste site. And I was still horrified that we're going to build houses on it, or even considering building houses on it. And I was like, we want a 2-foot cap. We should have the biggest cap we could possibly put on there. But there's a creek across the street. But the PAH is sink anyway, so I don't know if that would help. The cap is one thing. In the end, you still have to have all this other documentation, the haul route and the development agreement and all of those pieces of paper that show exactly what's going to happen. But as far as the cap is concerned, to me, there's nothing deep enough. And the deeper, the better.
Thank you.
City staff, what's your thought on that? Do you mirror that opinion? Or just at least a cap is important because it's a contaminated site?
Yeah, I mean, a thicker cap would be fine, I guess, in theory. It's just you are, I guess, approaching a lot of unknown with doing the maximum effort first. And that by first, that is 10 years of hauling to bring in that much fill. So I guess our thought was do the minimum first before you know what's going to happen.
How many quad axles did you estimate if they went to 10 feet?
30,000.
Yeah, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong since he does this for a living, but yep, 30,000.
But if you really start doing that, guys,
your mic on?
30,000 loads
Nothing.
on 120 days per season available. Let's say he found a site that could bring all 30,000 in 1 year. It's really not that much traffic if you start doing the math. It sounds like an astronomical number, but that's the problem with numbers. You don't get it. Start doing the math. I was sitting there doing it. It's not like you're bringing 13,000 trucks down Highland Road in 1 day. 30,000 just divided by 120, which is the business days between April and September. Now talk that over 10 years. It's a minute task onto our infrastructure over a 10-year period. It's nothing. We move 30,000 yards of dirt in Mequon with other projects every year. I guarantee it, probably 10 times that much. So don't get hung up on 30,000 quad axle loads of dirt. It's not that much. And so I think you all need to think about that. And I think that's what's in everyone's head. Oh my God, 30,000 loads. We're gonna, traffic. We're gonna have dump trucks lined up to Port Road. That's not what it's gonna be. And it's gonna be over 10 years. I don't know if you're gonna be able to find that kind of fill or not.
No, it is much like I had said before. This is a long-term project. This is something that has been. This study was done in 2004, guys. No one has touched this for a reason. I'm a resident. I just told you, I walked to this site. What we've put before you is something that's doable. I understand 2 foot, reduce the trucking, but that's not going to get the site where it needs to be. Maximum effort is what I want to put forth at the beginning. Maximum effort is what, like I say, because that's what it's going to take. You can't be half in this project and half not in this project. You have to look at it and say, hey, this is something that has to be done. It has to be done right the first time because you're not really going to get a second chance at it. Now, if that dirt, once it's clean, has to be moved around on site, it goes from $15 dirt to $3 dirt because you're doing mass excavation like you would do for one of your subdivisions. That's a totally different subject. Again, you're going to have more of an impact on the project you just approved on Buntruck than you would on this site for trucking. And we do have a trucking route in. We truck 76th Street to Highland. It was approved in our permit for the other, and that was included in our packet. And we haven't had, you guys haven't even known anyone was there. You guys haven't. I've been doing all of this with a permit. No one's complained. I'm not in the business of bringing something to the city. If we have an issue where a rogue trucker might get into the dirt and truck it, we have a sweeper on call. I own them. It gets cleaned. The city has had no complaints on this site. You will not have complaints on this site if I manage it. I'm not in the business of pissing off my neighbors. Excuse my language.
It's fair. Staff final thoughts and or maybe entertaining a motion? Alderman Parrish.
Move to table.
It's got per staff's open items. That's non-debatable, so do we have a second? Motion and a second to table. We'll just
Do we have a list of the open items? Yeah, it's right in the packet. Okay, I don't have the packet.
actually,
Oh, what?
we're not talking back and forth, guys. We're not doing this tonight.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay, so
There's a list in the packet.
there's a list in the packet. Okay, thank you.
There's a list in the packet.
Okay, great, sure.
Yep.
Do I have to withdraw this formally, or do you table it without being withdrawn?
Once it's tabled, it's handed back to you and city staff to work forward, and then once you get to that point that you're comfortable moving forward and/or as staff, then it comes back to us, and then we make a motion to remove the table like we did a previous item tonight.
Great, okay.
And then we can vote on it.
Already have. Yeah, okay, so, sorry for the attitude.
No, it's fine.
Right.
And I know it's not what you wanted, so.
No, it's not, but
Yep.
it's moving in the right direction, so.
What I would want to see is a grading plan to maximize the capping, and then, just overall the trucking volume discussion from Cole. So, got a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Nope, we already have it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You get to make a third.
No, now I don't want to complicate.
All right, Robin, let's call the roll on the tabling. Sorry. Busy night for you.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Stoker. Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Urbani.
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Stoker. Alderman Stralcheck.
Aye.
Table stands.
Taking your name.
So
and
just
giving
get
you
your
Chorin.
information.
Poor
Yep.
Commissioner.
Yep.
Thank you. That's it. Appreciate you.
Okay.
All right. Next item is a policy item. We have a joint extraterritorial zoning committee, JETSCO. The city is seeking 3 planning commission members to serve on JETSCO related to 2 zoning applications within the town of Grafton. Jack, do you just want to give a quick 101 on what that is? And we need 3 volunteers.
Sure.
tonight.
The mayor requested 3 volunteer members. If not, he's going to appoint 3 members. So if you want to volunteer and get ahead of that, you can. They have to be citizen members, so neither alderman can partake in that committee. The reason for the committee is we've recently received 2 zoning applications for the town of Grafton in our extraterritorial zoning authority area. Last month's council meeting, the council weighed in and said they still want to partake in that extraterritorial zoning authority. So we have to convene the JETSCO meeting to have a discussion about these items. The meetings will take place pretty much during our planning commission evening, so it's not an additional meeting for you guys. And you get and the whole committee whole commission can weigh in on the items, but only the JETSCO members can vote on the items. So so if you want to volunteer, you let us know, and we'll.
Could you explain the schedule again?
So
With
we
respect
would
to
have the meetings. The next meeting we'll have the 2 items on. So that our April 27th meeting, planning commission night meeting, we'll have the JETSCO committee as part of that meeting. So it won't be outside of our normal meeting times.
Oh.
So it'll probably be either before or after, depending how we do it. The rest of the commissioners can partake in that discussion if you'd like, but only the 3 members can vote. And there'll be 3 members from the town of Grafton also on that committee. So, and then that recommendation goes forward to the Common Council for ultimate decision making.
And we need 3 to be compliant, correct?
3, yes, we need 3 members.
So do you want a total of just, hey, 1, 2, 3, or just a raise of hands for
If
people
anybody
willing
wants to raise
do
their
it?
hand and volunteer, the mayor can pick the 3 and he'll let them know at the time. So he just wanted to know if there's anybody that was willing to volunteer.
And how long does that go on?
Just through this.
Well, it would go on for this meeting, and if there's still unresolved issues, it could go on for a couple more meetings after that. But if it's all resolved, it could be just 1 meeting shot. And then but once you're appointed in, if there's any future requests for the JETSCO committee, then you would have to entertain those as well. We haven't done this probably since 2010, so it's been a number of years since we have had to do this before. So
raise it.
What's that? You had a question for educational person? Oh, he's volunteering for educational? Oh, okay.
Alderman Parrish.
Just because I don't feel like you explained it fully, this is a very important committee, so because a very dense development was proposed across Pioneer Road by a developer, and so Mequon has extraterritorial rights, it would not be on sewer and water, it would be on well water in very dense lots. So to Common Council, it was very important that we had this committee to at least opine on if we're on the right track there to not have that level of density. I know we can't talk about the development and get into it, but I just want to say this isn't a permanent commitment, and it's very important to respect the land use that we have envisioned.
Yeah, and it's a budding Mequon, so, it's not
Very good
just.
point.
Yeah, it's not just, further inland where we're, just asking you guys to meet on this. And quite frankly, at council, we did debate on, if it was further in, would we even care? But because it is a budding Mequon and it is 2 separate things, it is an important, committee that if we could get it, as many people to volunteer, and then the mayor can just, choose 3 to move forward with some alternates, that would be really appreciated.
I will.
So just by a raise of hands, let's raise them all at once so it's easier to count. Who's willing to volunteer? 1, 2, 3. You don't want to volunteer? 3 plus alternate would be great.
Well, we'll also check with.
I'll check with Commissioner Hawley as well.
What's that?
I'll check with Commissioner Hawley as well, who's absent tonight.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right, that's
So
all we needed.
Maybe with Commissioner Hawley.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll sit in for conversation, but no voting. As would you, wouldn't you? We're both interested. All right. Anything else? That's it?
That's it.
All right, that was easy. The last item on the agenda is next meeting will be Monday, April 27th, 2026 at 6 p.m. And with that, we'll take a final motion for the evening.
Move adjourn.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for your time tonight.